Preseason's our chance to drill through the ceiling of what's possible in League and pierce the heavens of endgame fantasy. Welcome to a special two-part preseason rundown. Before we kick off, we wanted to wish Miss Pudding the best as she pursues new opportunities outside of Riot. Thanks for the great memories, keeping guests like me on track, and hosting the first season of the Rundown. Good luck, have fun. And now, bring on preseason. We've got not one, but two episodes for you today. We'll start with objectives and how they're changing. Then we'll pretend to take a break, even though we're really filming these back-to-back, and return to cover the jungle specifically. Before we jump into the panel, though, let's break down our goals for the 2015 preseason. The key phrase is strategic diversity. That sounds like a loaded term, but basically we want players to be able to experiment, bring more than 4 or 5 champions in each role, and have in-game decisions matter just as much as champion select. In the past, our approach to game balance has almost always been about nerfing and buffing champions only, with a few exceptions. That ends up feeling like design whack-a-mole, where players are terrified their mains will end up rising to the top, only needing to be smacked down. With strategic diversity, we're looking to add a Death Star's control room worth of levers to pull and push if balance does end up off. The TLDR is this: we want to open up new paths to victory so games never feel decided by which champions are locked in. For now, though, let's kick it off talking about objectives with Joshua Jatt Leesman and the Dark Lord of Design, Ghostcrawler. Thanks for coming by to talk about the changes.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Is it? Are we having fun?
Well, we will have fun, Patrick.
All right. So I just spent a long amount of time up there talking about strategic diversity, kind of giving the rundown of what it is. But I want you to go a little bit into it and explain kind of why we chose strategic diversity as our method for this season.
Yeah, it's really about playing games of League of Legends over and over again. You can have a lot of fun in an individual game, but then there's a good chance the next game may play out similarly. You'll probably even see a lot of the same champions as before. So what we're really trying to do is open up different ways to play. Rather than just taking the best champion for a particular lane, you can take the best champion for a particular strategy. And at the same time, a lot of these changes are designed to give us tuning knobs to make sure that one of these strategies won't come to dominate the others.
Yeah, personally, I always see these season changes as kind of a chance to refresh and get excited about the game again. What really got me into League of Legends in the first place is back in 2011 or 2012, I would just create and find my own stuff, and I'd do jungle paths in custom games and try and figure things out and then like break them out and use those to climb the ladder and really kind of create my own game. And when I've been playtesting this Eternal thing, I have that feeling back again. It actually feels to me like Season 1.
That's exactly what we're going for, that sense of experimentation again. It really sucks as a player when you're trying out something new with the suspicion that, well, even if I find something right, it's just going to slap my wrist, so I'm not even going to try exploring new things. We really want players to like, hey, I've got an idea, I can't wait to get online tonight and see if I can pull it off.
All right. First thing on the menu for objectives are turrets. They can be a little shocking when people see them for the first time, but we now have 3 different turrets. If you could walk me through why we made these changes. We have the inner turrets now have regenerating shields, and all the turrets in the base, the inhibitor and the Nexus ones, have a powerful laser that lowers damage and really kind of burns through things. So why exactly did we make these changes to those turrets?
In the past, when a strategy became too dominant, we would have to like nerf the champions who did that strategy well, and then if you played that champion, you were sad. So the turrets are an example of the kind of tuning knobs we're putting in to allow, if split pushing is too strong or some type of poke siege strategy is too strong, we can adjust, say, the shields on to make the turrets more defensible or the lasers to make the turrets do more damage, and try to make sure we can keep, all the strategies relatively balanced.
Yeah, I kind of hope that ends up being a thing, because there's so much cool potential in discussing team compositions, but there's always this catch near the end of the season. It's like, well, yeah, Lucian, he fits in all of them, and this guy, he fits in all of them. And I feel like there's still going to be like champion outliers that kind of defy these rules that will probably still have to be nerfed, but large scope, I'm hoping that we get to see specific strategies that can both excel in like a rock, paper, scissors, Spock type thing.
Moving forward a little bit, those of you who may not know, Greg Street is a marine scientist, has a PhD in marine science. So, Dr. Street, tell me about the Rift Scuttler and why we added this crab and what it's really doing here on the Rift.
So the original idea was not, we need a crab in League of Legends.
That's why we hired you. We needed a crab.
That's why. We wanted a minion in the river, and we talked about what makes sense kind of to be there. We called it an eel for a long time internally, but it didn't make sense that like when the eel leaves the water, it would flop around on the ground, just kind of awkward.
I'm giving vision.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I have big eyes.
Okay, all right, I'm seeing it.
And then also part of the idea is that the crab runs away, and he's pretty tough. He doesn't stand and fight. We now have a creature that tries to get away when you try to kill it. So it made sense that it needed to be something pretty armored that could then like burrow into the mud in the river to hide and grant vision, and some kind of crustacean just seemed the logical choice.
Yeah. So the crab lives kind of in the jungle, lives between the jungles, right?
Right.
And it is very tanky, and it does kind of run away. How have you found this kind of impacting your jungle runs and things like that? Because it seems like it can get pretty dangerous.
It's a mini objective after a few games. Like my first few games in the jungle, I would go and kill the crab and be like, all right, I'm controlling this thing.
I
get this circle of vision
lord.
and a little speed shrine, and nothing would really happen because I wasn't thinking about when it needed to be taken. The next few games, it's really important, I feel like, to take the crab right before you are going to try an objective or right before you think an opponent is going to try it as you're falling away. Because I had one situation where we were down like one person, we were going to have trouble holding the dragon, killed the crab, had vision of it, they couldn't clear it, it's unstoppable vision, alternate with Nocturne, killed Soraka, stole the dragon, we like won a team fight, but it's all because we had that vision control. And if you're not killing it at the right times, or if you're trying to take it by yourself late in the game, it takes too long and it's not worth it. So you really have to think about when you're taking it is the biggest thing I found.
Yeah.
That was core to the design is you can do it wrong. If you kill it and you're in a position where you can't actually leverage the benefits you got, then you probably made a mistake and you should have been doing something else.
Yeah. Well, you gotta steal my dragons, Jatt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in that game. You killed
Congratulations.
everybody.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
It was a very memorable game, Patrick.
For Jatt, it was Tuesday. It was just another day on the Rift, murdering people. So speaking about the dragon and kind of the way the crab plays into securing that objective, let's move right into the dragon. So there's no longer objective gold on this thing. You still get a little bit for taking it, but teams in the past have been using this as a trade for a turd or a dragon, right? It's just like, okay, they get one, we'll get the other. Now we're doing different things. There's permanent stacking buffs. Why?
Way different.
Yeah, why have we taken this?
We wanted the dragon to be a different type of power. Instead, it's something you really have to leverage. You're really going for that fifth stack in order to be the dragon master of the game. It's not just about getting more gold that you can buy more items.
I think it's a completely different objective now.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it'll take a long time for people to really get used to playing it and figuring out the strategic necessities of doing it right. I don't think the first dragon early on in the game matters really that much at all. But once you get to like 30 or 40 minutes, that first reward starts mattering again. So you almost need to make sure you're sneaking a dragon at some point in the game. It's like this investment that both teams need to make sure they're buying into.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of depth there, and there's a lot of other factors people need to start recognizing before we can really see what this dragon holds.
Yeah.
In reality, 5 stacks are probably not going to be super common, but the threat of that 5th stack is going to drive decision-making in a lot of games. And you're going to have to pay attention to what the other team is doing and pay attention to how close you are to be able to get that stack.
Yeah.
I've actually never been able to get 4 dragons in a game, and I've played a fair chunk of them because people are really making sure you're not getting dragons, sometimes to their detriment. I had this awesome game the other day, only because we won that it is awesome, because we were getting crushed most of the game.
Yeah.
We were down like 20 kills, we were down 15,000 gold. They overdove our Nexus turrets, so we were able to take Baron and hold off with 2 inhibitors down. And then like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, we have 3 dragons right now. The one thing I'd been able to do that game was get dragon. And I was going to get the 4th dragon. We were pushing up the mid lane, and I just like see a few people hanging out, so we fight them. What had actually happened is Kobe was taking the dragon to make sure we didn't get to 4 dragons. We caught his team, killed them because we had the Baron minions pushing through. We just like ended the game after that.
Yeah.
And it was like, awesome, that's great.
Yeah, so the 5 stacks didn't kill them necessarily, but the threat of 5 stacks caused them to kind of make a different decision than they would otherwise do.
Yeah.
And so
it forced him into honestly like a suboptimal decision. I mean, bro, you have 2 inhibitors down, just push. Who cares if we get the 4th
You can just win the
dragon?
game, right? Yeah.
But at the same time, if we somehow would have held that off, got 4 dragons, they're suddenly at risk of losing. So at least it made a choice they had to think about.
Yeah. So, and now that kind of brings us, you mentioned it in your anecdote here, Baron buff. Baron buff is pretty different. Arguably much more powerful than it is on live, still gives you the attack damage and ability power. You no longer get the regen, but it makes you recall twice as fast, and now, most importantly, buffs all of your nearby minions. You kind of like carry the aura to them, right?
For leading your army in the battle.
So why do we make this change, and what real impact is this going to have, especially with how much teams already put on Baron right now?
I mean, Baron has really always been about, trying to to get enough power to crack open the enemy base. We're just kind of making that a little more explicit and visible now. Things like the regen, we just kind of felt were superfluous. We really wanted to be about being able to get in and take out turrets, get through the walls, and do some real damage.
For me, I feel like the Baron buff of the new season is one of the most terrifying changes.
Us too. Yeah.
But potentially the best change from my experience playing with it. But what this does is the Baron buff isn't actually making the minions do much more damage. It's just making it so they actually give you time to hit the turret. So if a team gets Baron, they have an absolute opportunity to finish the game, and they need to take that chance because they're not going to be able to siege out. If they get poked back, it's not like they can heal up, they're going to have to go back. Really, really scary, but I do like the change.
You know, we want this to feel good, and we're really excited to see, you know, player feedback and how they think, you know, did we accomplish having a more diverse League of Legends?
Well, anyways, thanks guys for being here. We've covered the new Baron and Dragon buffs, we've covered Giga Turret lasers, and the adorable Rift Scuttler, and we haven't even talked about smiting Teemo. If you think you've heard everything and you want to start exploring the new changes, don't. If you're instead correctly thinking you want to know more about smiting some Teemos, stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be hacking and slashing our way into the 2015 jungle. And until next time, if you're looking for a sign-off, watch the next video.